What's going on, YouTube? So this week we're going to be looking at our Week 7 DraftKings NFL lineup. So last week's video went about 19 minutes. It's a little long if you ask me. We're going to keep this short and sweet. We'll jump right into it and look at QBs this week. So the top QB of the week when you look at matchups and usage is Tom Brady. He's the highest priced guy, most chalk on the line when it comes to defense and upside for a quarterback. But you also don't want to fade, Matt Ryan either. They're one of the top offensive weapons right now out there in the NFL with Julio Jones, Coleman, Freeman. I mean, he has a lot of options to go to. They're explosive on the pass game. But this week, I'm definitely going to stack more around Tom Brady. I think he's worth the money to spend up for. He's averaging 30-plus points a week over the last 2 weeks. I know it's a small sample size, but he's Tom Brady. He's consistent. He's always consistent. And 6 TDs, 0 interceptions. What more can you ask for? But a possible fade if you're looking for an alternative option. Matt Ryan is also a safe pick. And we're going to stack him with Mr. James White. Not much to say here other than the fact they're using him a lot. He's finally getting into that scheme on the offense, that play action pass type situation. He's not going to get you a lot of yardage on the ground, a few carries here and there, and maybe a lucky rushing touchdown if he breaks free. But he's going to be using the pass attack, and that's what you're looking for is a multi-use back, passing and rushing. And James White on that New England offense, he's just a must-play this week for me. We'll jump over and we'll just finish off our running backs. Actually, no, let's skip that. Sorry. Let's jump into our chalk of the week for wide receiver. So going against San Diego, my top pick of the week is going to be Julio Jones. If you look at his usage, he's getting a ton of targets, a ton of receptions too. I mean, he catches a lot of what's thrown his way. And I mean, it's hard to argue with the numbers that you're seeing here. I know he's had an off game against Denver, obviously one of the best defenses out there. You can't hold it against him. New Orleans was a fluke, but aside from that, he's absolutely consistent. And Julio burns secondaries. I mean, safeties and corners, it's hard to stay with a guy like him. So we'll go ahead and throw him in as our chalk at wide receiver. We're going to look for some value now. And the value that I'm going to go with this week is going to be Hunter Henry. San Diego's been using a dual tight end formation with Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates. Hunter is getting, he's eating. This guy's eating real good. 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. He's hitting, 5x plus over the last 3 weeks. I mean, he's a solid, reliable tight end. He's not going to be your highest upside tight end, the guy that could potentially get you the 40 points like a Gronkowski might, but he's going to get you the 3, 4x or more, and he's going to get touchdowns. I mean, the guy is averaging 50% touchdown rate through 6 weeks. I mean, that's pretty good. So we're going to run with him in our value, and now we're going to jump up to wide receiver, and we're going to look at some other options. So in a week like this where you can stack a lot of chalk and a lot of deep value, I still think that you got to have those lower owned guys in there, even if it means sacrificing having more chalk. Excuse me. Last week, a guy that very few people were on, but I think a lot more people will be on this week is Kenny Britt. LA's offense is shambles. I mean, period. I don't like LA. I'm a diehard Niner fan. We're not going to talk about the Buffalo game, but LA is just garbage. Case Keenum, not the best quarterback, obviously. But one guy that's going to definitely get a lot of targets and a lot of usage on that offense is Kenny Britt. If you notice, he's averaging, 4, 6, 8, 10 targets a week. He catches almost everything that's thrown his way, and he gets a lot of points. I mean, we're talking, 3, 4, 5x or more. I mean, the guy has a lot of upside. Great GPP play. Should be still fairly low owned. I think around 15% this week. 10 to 15% is what I estimate. But at $4,300, you can't go wrong with him. So he's going to be one of our value plays. Sorry about that. Of the week. So that leaves us with a 5,100 average. Now, I'm going to jump straight into defense this week. I know Carson Wentz is legit. The guy has a lot of weapons. Jordan Matthews. I mean, there's a lot of guys on the Eagles that are going to do fairly well this week. But Minnesota's defense, hands down, best defense out there right now, currently through 6 weeks. Now, can that change? I don't know. Do I think Philly can make that change? No. I think Vikings are a lock this week, especially for GPP. You need that guaranteed upside. I think they're good for 10-plus points. And on the worst case scenario, if Philly does go off, I'm thinking 7, 8 points, which isn't bad. So that frees up $5,500. We're going to jump straight into another wide receiver, and this is our boy, Michael Thomas. So the Saints, as you know, high-flying offense, love to pass the ball, share the ball a lot. I mean, Snead, everyone on that offense gets fed. But Michael Thomas, week to week, is the most consistent wide receiver on New Orleans offense. I know Fleener did decent this last week in week 6. I don't think he's as consistent as people expect him to be, which shocks me because they used Jimmy Graham a lot in New Orleans when they had him, but Fleener's not the same. But Michael Thomas, I think for $4,700, another low to mid range guy that is good for 10 to 15 points on average per week, and he's just consistent. Good, safe GPP play with some good upside. Let's finish off our running backs. So initially, what I wanted to do was pay up for someone like LaShawn McCoy, but you know what? They're not going against San Francisco defense this week, which obviously was crippled when they lost a number of defensive weapons, including Navarro Bowman. But Miami's playing decent. They held Le'Veon Bell last week, who was probably the chalkiest running back, to what? 10 carries, 53 yards, and only 55 yards receiving. Now, I know he had a 100-point game, but when you look at his numbers previous to last week, it just wasn't what I expected out of someone who I played probably in 99 to 100% of my lineups in week 6. And we're going to fade McCoy just because I don't think he's going to repeat what he did last week in week 6. We're going to go DeMarco Murray. I think his ownership's going to drop a bit. I don't think as many people will be on him after the way he played, against Cleveland, which everyone expected to be the easiest game of the week or of the season for him. But he struggled. He got a touchdown, but he only got 65 yards. It just wasn't great. 0 receptions. In a GPP, he was a nightmare, and he was highly owned. I think a lot of people will fade him this week. They'll think he's off his game, and I think you can snag a real big top end, high floor, high ceiling running back this week, and snag him in there to go with James White. That leaves us $4,800. So we're gonna go down here. Let's scroll. All right, where are we at? All right. And this is where I'm going to play one of my favorite guys of the season so far, and that's Cameron Meredith. Chicago is using him a ton. I don't have to say much. He's being used. I think he'll get more touchdowns as the season goes on. I think he's actually going to be one of the top wide receivers by the end of the season. It's just Chicago needs as many weapons as they can get, and I think he's your boy. Alshon Jeffrey obviously is going to be the most targeted guy on Chicago, but if you're looking for someone who's going to get you consistency and good upside, 25, 30 points over the last 2 weeks at $4,700, he is way, way underpriced. And with a $600 increase in salary, and he's getting, 5x or more, that's a must play for me. So going back through, we got Tom Brady stacked with James White. We got DeMarco Murray as our chalk running back. We've got Julio Jones as our chalk wide receiver. Kenny Britt, who I think is going to over and exceed his value this week again. Michael Thomas, a lethal New Orleans weapon. And going against Kansas City, I'm not too worried about it. I think he's going to get a TD again this week and easily reach value. Hunter Henry, a must play in my opinion. Cameron Meredith, one of the top weapons I think out there right now at his price point. And Minnesota Vikings. So that wraps us up for our lineup this week. If you got any questions or concerns or you want to recommend anything, I'm open to it. Leave a comment, smash that like button if you like my videos. I'll post another one in week 8. I may even squeeze one in here, week 7 cash lineup if I got time, but I'm going out of town to New Mexico, so I probably won't have time to do it. But appreciate any support you guys show. Good luck this week, and let's make some money.